Hey guys, this is Miss Youngblood here, bringing you session 2 of today's content week. In today's session, we're going to be talking about volume. For my students, if you have not already, make sure you complete this weekly check-in, the May 4th weekly check-in, as soon as possible. And please keep in mind the daily schedule. As long as you're watching the videos and getting the work, then I don't mind. I just want to make sure you guys are staying caught up in this class as well as your other classes. But for those who are staying on task, let us get right into the material. So as I said, today we're talking about volume. We're going to start by looking at your first assignment. These assignments are both due Thursday. The first one that I think you should start with would be identifying geometric solids. So we're going to click on that assignment and get it going. So there are 7 problems, but they're multiple choice and you're just identifying the shape. So for this shape, we have a 3D shape. It's just a whole bunch of circles put together. We know this shape is called a sphere. So for this one, we're going to click sphere. And throughout these next few sessions, we're going to learn how to find the volume of these shapes we're looking at. So number 1 is a sphere. We're correct. Number 2. So this is our first kind of basic shape that we're going to be working with a lot in this unit. This shape in general is called a prism. A prism is any shape that has 2 bases. So we have this base and this base, and you name the prism based on the shape that is the base. So we see this base has 3 sides, so this is going to be a triangular prism. Again, prisms have 2 bases that are connected by some length or height. So this shape is going to be a triangular prism because both bases are triangles. Triangular prism. Our next shape, technically we could call this a rectangular prism, right? So we see we have this base is a rectangle or a square, we're not 100% sure. This base is a rectangle. Both of these rectangles are some height or distance away. So because we have 2 bases, it's a prism. It could be a rectangular prism. They might want us to pick cube as well. So we know if all these lengths are the same, this would be a cube. They don't have that option yet, so this is going to be a rectangular prism. I think the reason they didn't have the option for it to be a cube or a square prism is because they don't specifically tell us that these sides are the same. So we were right when we assumed it was going to be a rectangular prism. 2 bases are rectangles. The next one, technically we could call this a circular prism. So we have 2 bases that are circles. And they're connected by some distance or height. So we could call this a circular prism. But what we normally refer to this as is a cylinder. So a circular prism is always going to be a cylinder. And we'll get some practice on finding the volume of cylinders. Next shape, we already did this one. So remember, we have a prism because we have 2 bases, right? And the bases are triangles. So this is going to be a triangular prism. I hope they give us a pyramid. Oh, yes. So here we have a pyramid. So a pyramid is a 3-dimensional shape where you have one base and the opposite side meets at a point. So you have one base and one point. So all the sides of the base have triangles that meet at some point at top. So this is a pyramid. And again, you name a pyramid by the shape of the base. You see this base is either a square or rectangle. I wish they would have given us numbers so we could make it very specific. It's either going to be a square or rectangular pyramid. So this is going to be the option that makes sense. Square pyramid. We know it's not a prism, so it has to be this answer. And this one we already did. So again, we have 2 circles as the bases. So technically this is a circular prism, but we refer to circular prisms as cylinders. So this is going to be a cylinder. And that is literally your first assignment, just naming the shapes. So make sure you knock that out for the first assignment. The second thing I want to review isn't an assignment that you have to do, but I do think it's helpful to help you understand the next assignment. So the next thing we're going to talk about is how to find the volume or the concept of volume. What is volume? And we're using these cubic squares to represent what volume is. So For this first example, they say, Lua is creating a rectangular prism. The base of her prism is shown below. She plans to have a height of 7 cubes. So I'm going to be right back. I'm going to copy and paste this so we can visualize what's going on. So again, for this problem, we're given this base, and we're being asked to find, given this base and being asked to find the volume if we continue this base or stack this base 7 times. So that's what this height of 7 cubes means. So that means I want 7 of these rectangular bases. So I've already copied this figure into our little document for our sketch pad. So the key thing we want to keep in mind is that the height is going to be 7. But first, let's try to find the area of the space. So the purpose of this activity or this task is to get you guys to see how area and volume are directly related. So if we find the area of this space, literally all we want to do is count how many squares we have down here. So we have 3, 6, 9, right? So we have a 3 by 3 rectangle or a square. So there are 9 squares here. And they say I want to stack 7 of these up. So if I click on this without my pen, click on this, and I want to have 7 of these. So here's another one. I want you guys to still be able to see. So we know the first one is 9. You're not going to be able to see. There's the second one. Stack it. Yeah. Stack it again. Stack it again. Stack it again. I have to go under it. Oh, that's not going to work. I select all these and move them all down together as one. Yes. Move them all down. Stack it again. So right now we have a height of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to need 2 more. Let's see if we can just copy 2. Yeah. So now, make sure I select the right thing. Yeah. We have our height of 7. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This visual representation is showing us what it would look like if we stack all 7 of these on top of each other. So all we did was copy that first base and stack it on top of each other 7 times. I want to move it so you guys can still see the text. Okay, so we already found the area of this first base, right? This first base had an area of 9, right? So this one, it was the same shape that we copied, so it should also have an area of 9. So altogether, we're going to have a total of 7 nines. A magic 9 nowhere. So we have a total of 7 nines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that means if we added up all the cubes that are partially hidden by this white part that's covering, but we know each of these has 9 cubes. If we added up all these cubes, we would just do the area of the base. So volume is going to be the area of the base times height, where A in this particular example was 3 times 3, which got us 9, and our height is 7 because that's what they told us in the original problem. So this volume is going to be 63 units. Cubic units. We would have 63 cubes in that shape. So let's go back to our browser and type that in to make sure we're right. 63 cubic units. Nice. Let's go to the next one. So it says the base of a rectangular prism has an area of 8 square meters. The height of the rectangular prism is 5 meters. What is the volume in cubic centimeters of this prism? I'm going to copy this and sketch it in the sketch pad. So I've gone ahead and tried to sketch a visual representation of what the problem gave us. So they said the base of a rectangular prism. So the base of the prism is 8 square meters and the height of the prism is 5 meters. So again, it's the same scenario we had in the previous problem. This is our base. We can imagine that we have 8 squares or 8 cubes down here, and we're going to stack 5 of them on top of each other. So we're just going to take this 8 and multiply it by 5 to figure out the total amount of volume, or the total cubic meters that are going to make up this rectangular prism. So again, the volume is the area times the height. They just tell us the area is 8. They tell us the height is 5. So our volume is going to be 40 cubic meters for this next problem. So in our next problem, we're given this scenario. Ben used cubic units to build a right rectangular prism with a volume of 120 cubic units, and it says the height of the prism is 10. So we're given the volume and the height, and they ask us what figure could be the bottom layer of the prism. So remember, we're using the formula volume equals area times height, and this area is taken from the bottom layer of the prism, right? So our area for this problem came from here, the 8. The area from this problem came from the 9 cubes that are on the bases. So the area is the area of the base. So if we want to figure out what the area is and we know the volume and the height, we would just divide both sides by the height. So let's plug in the numbers we know. We know the volume is 120 cubic units. We don't know the area, but we know the height is 10. Could have put that 10 in the front, but this is the same. This means the same thing, 8 times 10. So to undo that multiplication, we want to divide both sides by 10. So you would get 12 equals the area. So we're going to switch back to our browser to see our area for this one. We want to look for a bottom layer that has 10 cubes. So we see this one has 2 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 by 6 is 12. This one is not going to work. This one has too many. Oh, did I put 10 or 12? I think our answer was 12. Yeah, so we do want 12. So this is going to be our first answer. 2 by 6, because we want 12 cubes on the bottom. And the last question, it says Carly, well, I will paste this over and then we'll go through it. All right, we've gone ahead and placed this in our sketch window. So the problem said that Carly is building a rectangular prism. The base of her prism is shown below. The height of her prism is 3 units. The question they actually ask us is how many more cubic units does she need to add to complete her rectangular prism. So we know that she needs the height to be 3 units, right? So we want to copy this like we did before. Copy just this little shade. We want to stack it so we have one more. Why would you not be the same size? Imagine this is perfectly the same size. Oh, I know what I did. Yeah. Okay. So we just stacked, made sure that our prism is a height of 1, 2, 3 units. So we're asked how many more need to be added to what she already had. So we know we added 1 base, and each base is 2, 4, 6, 8 units. So we added 8 units here, and we added 8 units here. So we added a total of 16 cubic units. We added 16 cubic units. So if we go back to our browser, she should have to add 16 more cubes. So again, this assignment is a given from Khan Academy because it is kind of abstract, but I think that this was a great introduction to what volume is. All you're doing is finding the area of the bottom or the base and multiplying it by the height. So now we're going to actually apply that to the assignment we have. So we're going to go back to my learner home. And remember, your assignments are on this side. We're in geometry, so we're looking at Geometry Youngblood. Now we're doing this last assignment, volume of rectangular prisms. So let's start that one. And this one does have 7 problems as well, but again, they're relatively short. So let's copy this over to our Sketchpad and work this problem out. For our first problem, we are given this rectangular prism. We know it's a rectangular prism because it has 2 bases that are rectangles. So if we think of that as one base and this as the other base, this line is the height. This line is connecting our 2 bases. So let me actually put our height in a different color. We'll make our height green for Michigan State, or green. So our height is 2 centimeters because it's connecting the 2 bases. And remember to find the volume. If we want to find the volume, we're doing the area times the height. So the height is 2. Now we need to find the area of our base. Well, we're doing rectangular prisms, so that makes our lives a little easy. All you do to find the area of a rectangle is multiply the base times the height. So the area is going to be 7 times 4, which gets us 28. So our volume is going to be our area, 28 times 2, which is 56. So again, we didn't have to pick this as our base just because rectangular prisms give us a little bit more flexibility, but it's a good habit to identify what your base is so that when you get to more challenging shapes, you can keep that same idea going. So regardless, the volume of this rectangular prism, to be careful with our units, is going to be 56 cubic centimeters, because the units are in centimeters. For the problems that are similar to the ones we just did, I'm just going to go ahead and do on here. So it says the volume of the rectangular prism, we're doing the same thing. So we can think of this rectangle as our base, this 6 by 3 rectangle. So this would be our other 6 by 3 rectangle. So this would be our height. So for this, the volume of this shape, the area is going to be 18, right? So we would do, or let me type that. So we would do 6 times 3, 6 times 3, which gets us 18. That's the area. And the height is going to be 5. So we do 18 times 5. So area times height, 18 times 5 gets us 90. If you're wondering how I did that in my head, I did 18 times 10, which got me 180, then divided by 2 to get 90, because I know that 5 is half of 10. Multiplying by 5 can be made easy by using tens. The next one, we have this rectangular prism. They're all going to be rectangular prisms, lucky you. So if this rectangle is our base, we have a 3 by 8 rectangle, right? And then this rectangle would be our other 3 by 8 rectangle. So we're doing, to find that area, we would do 3 times 8, right? So that's the area of the rectangle, so that would be 24. And the height connects the 2 bases. Our height is 1, 24 times 1, which we know is just 24. So this answer should be 24 cubic centimeters. Next one, very similar, not gonna sketch it. So we have this rectangle down here, could be our base. A 2 by 8 rectangle, our other 2 by 8 rectangle is here. So again, the area for our 2 by 8 rectangle, 2 times 8. 2 times 8, this area is 16. Remember, to find the volume, you have to multiply by the height. The height is this line here, 3, because it connects our 2 by 8 rectangles. So we would do 16 times 3 to get our volume. 16 times 3 gets us 48 cubic centimeters for our volume for this rectangular prism. Next one, So this is a great example of why we don't want to assume all the sides are the same, right? This looks like it would be a cube, but they actually tell us this length is 6. That's just a side note. So again, we have this rectangular prism. Because this base is a rectangle, these two sides are not the same, it's a rectangle. So if this is our base, 5 by 6, we want to find that area. So 5 times 6, oh my goodness, 5 times 6 is going to be the area of this base. And then, so that's going to be 30. So the area of our base is 30. Here's our other base with an area of 30. So the height is this line here, 5. So we're going to do 30 times 5, and 30 times 5 gets us 150 cubic centimeters. 2 more. This one, we have this base, 4 by 2. So we're finding the area of a 4 by 2 rectangle, which is 8. So we have our 4 by 2 rectangle here. So this area is 8. This area is 8, so this is the height that connects the two bases. So we're going to do our area times our height. 8 times 9 gets us 72 cubic centimeters. And the last one. So again, we have this base, a 4 by 3 rectangle. So the area of that 4 by 3 rectangle is going to be 12. So this area of this base is 12. Area of this base is going to be 12. These are our two bases. This is our height connecting our two bases. So we will do 12 times 2, which gives us 24 cubic centimeters. And we finished. So today's assignment is, you have 14 problems, but they should be pretty quick. Yes, that concludes our lesson on Introduction to Volume. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Make sure, give me 1 second. As I was saying, that concludes our second session on volume, but feel free to please check out Google Classroom to complete the May 4th weekly check-in. Keep in mind the daily schedule, so even if you're not going to the actual Hangout classes, make sure you are still checking in with your teachers in some way. So today was Tuesday, we just finished our 4B class, so that concludes our geometry time together this week. But tomorrow you should be going to your 2A and 4A classes. I've also just recently added to Google Classroom information about technology and internet from the district. Please, as always, if you have questions, do not hesitate to reach out, and hopefully I will talk to you soon. Bye.